Good evening, everyone. This is your evening news recap. I hope all of you guys are having a wonderful day. My day has been pretty solid as well. My apologies for no episode yesterday. I was insanely sick. It was horrible. Do not recommend whatever sickness I had. Truly, it was bad. But we're doing a lot better today, so we're out here making the news recap. It's definitely been an interesting past 2 days, so we'll see. We'll see how it goes throughout the rest of this week. But hopefully, so far, you guys are all doing well. Um, yeah, this is your nightly news recap on all the news throughout the day, giving you my take as somebody who wants to be a politician in the near future. So if you're new here, consider subscribing, dropping a like, dropping a comment down below. Yeah, got my nails done. I really like them. What are your guys' thoughts? Nothing special this time, just kind of black and pink. The pink glows in the dark too, which I thought was really cool. I figured that out last night and freaked out over it for a little bit, but um, yeah, hope all you guys are doing well. Let's get into tonight's recap. Moving right on into it. The first topic we have today is the Department of Homeland Security officers beat and pepper sprayed a father of a Marine. My apologies for that. Sorry. A Marine Corps veteran witnessed a video of his father being beaten and pinned to the ground in an arrest on social media. Norisco Barranco came to the United States in the 90s but doesn't have legal status. He was arrested on Saturday. Witnesses uploaded a video of the arrest in Santa Ana, but no footage was shown of the entire incident as agents struggled to get Barranco outside of an IHOP. On Monday, his son, Alondro Barranco, I think it's Bronco, my apologies, waited outside of a federal detention center for more than 3 hours, but unfortunately wasn't able to meet with his father. Justice for Bronco's father, this is far from okay. I truly do hope fellow Marines and other troops see this and realize how wrong it is. I know many people say that the military won't listen to Trump, and even some troops say the military won't listen to Trump, but I really don't believe that, and it worries me. It truly does, especially with what we've seen in LA. I sadly think most troops won't realize until after their service is over that they were kind of in the wrong. I think that just tends to be how it goes after they get fucked by the administration as well. But I guess we'll see when the time comes for that to be more apparent, to say the least. Moving on, the State Department has issued worldwide caution for U.S. citizens. The State Department has issued a worldwide caution security alert, holy English, my apologies, advising citizens overseas to exercise caution. In a statement they wrote, the conflict between Israel and Iran has resulted in disruptions to travel and periodic closure of airspaces across the Middle East. There is a potential for demonstrations against U.S. citizens and interests abroad. The Department of State advises U.S. citizens worldwide to exercise increased caution. I can't speak. Please be careful, please carefully read our travel advisory, country information, and any recent security alerts when planning to travel at. They would then list the 32 countries listed on the travel ban and a few more countries. This isn't shocking. Honestly, I expected this to happen way sooner than it did. Obviously, you should always be cautious when you're abroad, but I would say now is probably a good time if you are going to be cautious, ever. Especially if you're in the Middle East. There's always a risk, of course, with the tensions and how countries are ran and how governments are run, within that area. But overall, just be careful if you're traveling abroad. Make sure you have trusted people around you, or make sure people at least know where you are if you trust them. Moving on, Trump is pissed at Israel. While walking past reporters at the White House, Trump was asked how he felt about the conflict between Israel and Iran and the failed ceasefire. Trump said, I'm not happy with Israel due to the amount of bombs they dropped on Iran. He claims it was the biggest load we've seen. He's also said he wasn't happy with Iran, but he was really unhappy with Israel, he went on to say. We basically have two countries that have been fighting for so long and so hard that they don't know what the fuck they're doing. He would then walk away. I'm sure Trump has seen bigger loads. If you know, you know. But anyways, I mean, what does he expect? Israel and Iran were never going to listen. I mean, truly, Israel attacked Iran for no reason, and you expect them to just give up? Come on, bro. I've seen him, get a lot of hate for swearing, and saying the F word, fuck, whatever, and this is the one time I will come to his defense and just say that it's a word to convey emotion, guys. Come on, we're in the wrong place in truly thinking about this one. Yes, I understand it's unprofessional or it's a bad look, and I understand that people aren't a fan of how harsh politicians have become in their words since Trump. But honestly, I've thought for years, even since a very young age, in middle school, when you're kind of coming around swearing and all that, it's the perfect way to display how you feel in a situation, or if you don't know the right word, it's the perfect word. Um, People are emotional, and swears are emotional words. There's nothing wrong, in my opinion, at least, with using a word to convey how you feel about a situation. Time and time again, I have sweared on this channel. I have sweared in my recaps. I have, sweared on TikToks. I have sweared all over the place, and yet I still say I'm going to be a politician. And honestly, I probably will swear when I'm in office as well. I don't swear very often, or I try not to, just because I'm not trying to overly exert that. But at the end of the day, they really are just words to convey the emotion that you are feeling. That's how I feel about it. I know a lot of people might not agree, but truly, I mean, it doesn't matter. A word's a word. It really is. Um, I mean, that's how I feel. Granted, slurs are different. Slurs are very different. But, it's normal swear words. That's fine. If you're not using it in a derogatory way to harm people, very different, in my opinion. Anyways, Trump has dared AOC to impeach him. In a new post on True Social, Trump has dared AOC to impeach him. In his post, he wrote, "Stupid AOC, Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez is one of the dumbest people in Congress, is now calling for my impeachment, despite the fact that crooked and corrupt Democrats have already done that twice before." The reasons for her rantings is all the victories that the USA had under the Trump administration. The Democrats aren't used to winning, and she can't stand the concept of our country being successful again. When will we examine her test scores and find out that she is not qualified for office? Nevertheless, far more qualified than Crockett, who is a seriously low IQ individual, or Ian Omar, who has nothing to complain of, who does nothing but complain about our country, yet the failed country that she comes from doesn't have a government, is drenched in crime and poverty, and is rated one of the worst in the world, if it's even rated at all. How dare the mouse tell us how to run the United States of America? We're not coming back to the radical left experiment with Sleepy Joe, Kamala, and the auto pen in charge. What a disaster it was. AOC should be forced to take the cognitive test that I just completed at the Walter Reed Medical Center as a part of my physical. As a doctor in charge said, President Trump aced it. Meaning that I got every answer right. Instead of her constantly complaining, Alexandria should go back to her home in Queens, where I was also brought up, and straighten out her filthy, disgusting, crime-ridden streets in the district she represents, and which she never goes to anymore. She better start worrying about her own primary before she thinks about beating our great Palestinian Senator Chuck Schumer, whose career is definitely on very thin ice. She and her Democratic friends have just hit the lowest poll numbers in congressional history, so go ahead and try impeaching me. Make my day. So let's talk about the poll numbers for a second. Trump has the worst rating in history of any president ever. I believe he is only saying that because on True Social he has spent the past few days posting a lie of polling, saying he has a 56% approval rating. That is not the case. I believe last time we talked about it, he had a 34, and it's probably less now. So we all know that's wrong. Trump should be impeached. Time and time again, he's gone against the Constitution. He has created panic and problems within our country and around the world. He needs to be removed before this gets even worse. He is failing miserably at his job, I miss having a president where I could watch the news and not have to hear something stupid. But no, with Trump, it has to be something new 15 times a day because he's a drama queen, truly. I know there was a vote to impeach Trump that failed today. Have more news on that later. But let's just keep moving on for time's sake, if you will. Anyways, Trump has had his Nobel Peace Prize nomination withdrawn. A Ukrainian lawmaker who has nominated Trump for the Nobel Peace Prize has withdrawn it due to peace talks stalling. Oleksandr Meriziko, that is not how you pronounced it. I butchered that so hard. My apologies. The head of Ukraine's Parliamentary Foreign Committee said to Newsweek he had lost any sort of faith and belief in Trump's negotiations for a ceasefire between the two nations. Meriziko had nominated Trump in November, but withdrew it on Monday morning. Good. He's a terrible person who can't negotiate. He's a terrible businessman. He's a terrible politician. He's a terrible president. He's doing a bad job. He doesn't deserve a Nobel Peace Prize. He would be rotting in prison right now if he wasn't in prison or wasn't president, and he should be in prison. Yet, here we are. Here we are in the wonderful world of 2025, where Donald Trump is sitting in the White House when he should have been in prison and lost an election due to people not being able to set their pride aside. Love that. Truly do. Anyways, Stephen Miller, however you say it, owns hundreds of thousands in Planter stock. Reports have come out showing that the White House Deputy Chief of Staff Stephen Miller owns massive stakes in Planter, which makes millions off of Trump's immigration crackdown. Miller's public financial disclosure report said that the advisor owns between $100K and $250K in assets of the company. Last month, the Trump administration picked Planter to help build a massive surveillance system to allow federal agencies to better share their data in order to use it as a surveillance tool. Honestly, I'm not surprised. Stephen Miller runs this show, and Trump will do anything to get money in him and his billionaire friends' pockets. The corruption in our government is unreal. So I'm not even fazed by this being the case. Time and time again, it's something else. It really is. Especially from the right and even from the left. There are so many politicians on both sides who are involved with insider trading, which should be illegal. Yet our politicians don't care, just like they don't care about us. It's just like all of those Democratic leaders voted to not impeach Trump. Granted, J.D. Vance would be worse, but Trump's got to go. He's clearly a loose cannon. Anyways, moving on into the United States and Israel versus Iran conflict. Iran has attacked U.S. military bases. Iran has launched multiple attacks on American military bases, an American military base, my apologies, in Qatar in retaliations to the strikes on its nuclear facilities. Iran coordinated its attack on the Al Udeid air base in Qatar, and the Trump administration was aware of the threat in advance. The U.S. defense official told Axios, "I can confirm that the Al Udeid air base was attacked by a short-range and medium-range ballistic missiles originating from Iran today. At this time, there are no reports of civilian casualties or U.S. casualties." This was expected, as Iran was bound to retaliate any day now. Thankfully, there weren't any casualties, and hopefully that remains to be the case, as this war needs to be stopped before more people die. And the U.S. especially needs to pull out. It's a waste of taxpayer dollars and our manpower as a country. It truly is. In other news, the United States has failed to destroy Iranian nuclear sites. According to Reuters, the U.S. has not destroyed Iran's nuclear capabilities and only set them back a few months. Iran's enriched uranium has reportedly not been eliminated, and the program may only be backed up by a month or two. The White House claims the report was flat out wrong, as they continue to claim facilities were totally obliterated, but many sources say otherwise, and so does satellite imagery. So any bets on how long it takes the White House to admit they're wrong? I say never. they're just as bad as the rest. I mean, you could show them all the proof in the world, but it doesn't matter. It's their way or the highway, truly. I mean, that's just how Trump runs. And so does MAGA, I guess. I mean, it doesn't matter how much proof you show any of these people. You could show them that. I mean, you could show them videos of Trump being involved with Epstein. You could show them videos of Trump being at a Diddy party. You could show them videos of Trump saying something completely bizarre. And no, they would still get on their knees and they would still glaze Trump to the end of time. I mean, it's their way or the highway, I guess, because people are too incompetent to understand that, hey, maybe sometimes we're wrong. Hey, maybe sometimes we're in the wrong, and maybe we should be supporting the people around us rather than actively tearing them down. But, who said that? Who said that? In other news, there was a fake Trump ceasefire. Trump says Israel and Iran agreed to a ceasefire. They didn't. In a post on Truth Social, Trump announced a ceasefire between Israel and Iran. In his post, he wrote, "Congratulations to everyone. It has been fully agreed by and between Israel and Iran that there will be a complete and total ceasefire approximately 6 hours from now when Israel and Iran have wound down and completed their progress and final missions for 12 hours, at which the point the war will be considered ended. Officially, Iran will start the ceasefire, and upon the 12th hour, Israel will start the ceasefire. And upon the 24th hour, at the official end of the day, the 12-day war will be saluted by the world. During each ceasefire, the other side will remain peaceful and respectful. On the assumption that everything works as it should, which it will, I would like to congratulate both countries, Israel and Iran, on having the stamina, courage, and intelligence to end that should be called the 12-day war. This war that could have gone on for years and destroyed the entire Middle East, but it didn't, and it never will. God bless Israel, God bless Iran, God bless the Middle East, God bless the United States of America, and God bless the world. Donald J. Trump, the President of the United States of America." But, the foreign ministry of Iran says otherwise. Iran's foreign minister said, "As of now, there is no agreement on any ceasefire or cessation of military operations. However, provided that the Israeli regime stops its aggression against the Iranian people no later than 4 a.m. Tehran time, we have no intention of continuing our response afterwards. Final decision on the cessation of our military operations will be made later." Of course, Israel didn't stop. That didn't even last 5 minutes. What does it do to lie about a ceasefire? Truly, it makes you look even worse for joining this war. I mean, what are you doing? Truly, what are we doing in the United States of America? You joined a war without congressional approval. You lied about a ceasefire that didn't really exist, and now we're sitting here and you look like a dumbass, and so do the rest of us. That's this entire administration. Time and time again, it's something else with this man. It really is. He is the problem. It's not going to change. I can't believe so many Democrats voted no on impeaching him. And I know, J.D. Vance would be worse. But, Trump is a loose cannon. He really is. And this entire administration needs to go. So, as said before, I said this in my last episode, we should have a special election and revote for the President of the United States. Truly, we should. I mean, this entire administration is a shithole. And I don't believe there's anything in the Constitution that, says we can do that or says that's a possibility. And, we could just impeach J.D. Vance again, and then it would be, what would it be? House Speaker Mike Johnson. Never mind, I take that back. I do not want House Speaker Mike Johnson as the President of the United States. I mean, truly, just hold a special election at this point. He's not going to win again. He can't even run again, I don't think. If there was a special election, you'd have to ban him from running, and anyone else within the current administration. But truly, this administration is a shit show. The entire thing. There's not one good part about this entire administration. We're setting ourselves back, tens of years. Decades. That's the right term. It's truly bizarre. Truly bizarre. How, the number of Democrats that voted to impeach him. It wouldn't have won it wouldn't have gone through if, none of them voted for it, or none of them voted against it. Like, the Republicans have the majority. It wouldn't have gone through. Yet the amount that did is insane. Again, I got more news coming up soon, but let's keep going. I believe we have two more topics to get through. Let's see. Yeah, we got two more topics to get through before we get there. I know I'm kind of holding it to the end, but got to talk about it. Anyways, the Supreme Court has allowed Trump to send migrants to third world countries with limited notice. The Supreme Court has allowed the Trump administration to send migrants to other countries on their homelands, lifting a court order requiring them to be able to challenge their deportations. Holy, my apologies. Excuse me. Jeez. The previous order had came when U.S. immigration officials put 8 people on a plane to South Sudan in an attempt to take them, but they were rerouted to a naval base in Djibouti after the court order from the previous judge, who ruled that it was illegal for them to do so. These deportations are wrong, and what's even worse is sending people to countries that they aren't even from with absolutely nothing. This administration is sick. The fact that the Supreme Court continues to follow suit with everything Trump does is even worse. I truly miss the Biden administration. I mean, I miss, waking up and watching a history video on YouTube or watching a political video on YouTube and thinking, yeah, that's interesting. Yeah, cool. We're going to move on with my day. But now it's Trump. And now I got to dwindle on it. And now I got to think about it. And now it's got to be a whole nother issue. And it's got to be a whole nother thing carried along. And it's annoying. It really is. I miss being able to just read the news, say, hey, that's interesting, that's useful, that's helpful, thank you, and not stress out about it. I really do. Anyhow, a Republican congressman has nominated Trump for a Nobel Prize. Representative Buddy Carter of Georgia has nominated Trump for a Nobel Peace Prize due to his role in creating a ceasefire between Israel and Iran. Carter wrote in a letter to the Norwegian Nobel Committee to formally nominate Trump for the prize in recognition of his extraordinary historic role in brokering an end to the armed conflict between Israel and Iran. Carter would also spew, the common Trump propaganda of Iran having a nuclear weapon and how well the Trump administration worked to stop it when they did nothing at all. Trump should be in jail, and he would be if he wasn't president right now. Yeah, we're sitting here talking about him getting a Nobel Prize. I mean, come on, what a joke, dude. Truly, what a joke. He should be in jail. He really should be. He really should be. There's proof out there that he cheated and he went through the election. Haven't reported on it. Not going to. I don't want to be, just like those MAGA people who couldn't get over, saying we lost an election. We lost. Even if he cheated or not, at the end of the day, we lost. It's unfortunate. We're going to have to wait it out. But he doesn't deserve a Nobel Prize. He is the last person to deserve a Nobel Prize. He lied about the ceasefire that you're giving it. You're nominating him for a ceasefire that doesn't exist. He's a terrible person. He has been on Jeffrey Epstein's island multiple times. He has likely been to multiple Diddy parties. He has deported thousands of people. He has deported American citizens. He has harmed American citizens. He has caused National Guard troops to shoot at American citizens. He sent the Marines into LA. He took over LA. That's not deserving of a Nobel Peace Prize. And there's so much more. I can keep going on and on and on and on. It doesn't stop. It doesn't stop. It really doesn't. Yet we are sitting here talking about Trump being nominated for a Nobel Prize. Yet we are sitting here listening to the facts that Trump has been nominated to a Nobel Prize. And I hope to God that the Norwegian Nobel Committee does not accept that. And they say, fuck no. I gotta give a lot of props to Norway. Great country. They got a lot of great things going on there. Best country in the world for trans people. They know what's up. Truly, they really do. Overall, pretty solid country. I also believe they do really well in recycling, and a lot for global emissions. So, give it up to Norway. They know what they're doing over there. We need to take some advice, truly. So hopefully, they say absolutely not over there. Anyways, moving into the topic that we've all been waiting for throughout this episode, the vote to impeach Trump has failed. House Democrats have overwhelmingly voted with Republicans against impeaching Trump for his strikes against Iran. The movement was started by Representative Al Green of Texas, accusing Trump of disregarding the separations of powers and devolving American democracy into authoritarianism with unconstitutionally usurping Congress's power to declare war. The House voted 344 to 79, with 128 Democrats voting with Republicans. House Minority Leader Hakeem Jeffries was among the 128 who voted not to impeach Trump. Honestly, not surprised. The Democratic Party is just as worse as the Republicans. For a year, they have sat around and done jack shit. So I'm not shocked that the majority didn't vote, because honestly, they probably could have less of a care in the world. Just like the Trump administration. They only care about their own self-interests. They are a centrist party that does jack shit for this country, and the only reason they're seen as left is because the Republican Party in this country is so far right. But when it comes down to it, they're just as bad. For years, we have seen Democrats sit around and do nothing. For years, they could have stopped this. They could have stopped this entire situation leading up to it. Yet what did they do? They sat around and did nothing. They really did. They gave Trump the ability to, or it wasn't, I don't believe it was a Democratic judge who gave this ruling, but they allowed it to continue throughout, the Biden administration, what was left of the Biden administration and in this Trump administration. They allowed that. They just sat there for Trump to be able to have the ruling that nothing was illegal for the president to do, and the president couldn't be harmed for what he did within his administration. They sat there and let that happen. Let's not forget that. And they've sat and let so many other things happen. Like, they're useless. They really are. A majority of the Democratic leaders are useless. The two-party system in the United States is a joke, because both parties just fit their own interests of Israel and whoever else can put money into their pockets. Truly, they really do. They really do. It's horseshit. It really is. Moving on into our final topic tonight, Big Balls, the former Doge employee, has resigned. Edward Korstein, formerly known as, or famously known, if you will, as Big Balls, has resigned from Doge. Korstein, who was 19 years old, had received full-time staff status in the administration last month, and he had also worked on Project 2025 for a few years. Korstein was brought in by Musk and had also previously worked on Neuralink for several months. I have a feeling that Musk has other plans for his little golden boy. He really does seem to be, handpicked by Musk himself, if you will. So it's interesting to say the least. But I don't think this will be the end of Big Balls. I'm sure we'll see him throughout Elon Musk's endeavors, or maybe even in the political sphere still. It's interesting that someone who is only a year older than me has made it this far into government, all because they changed their name to Big Balls on LinkedIn. But, if he can do it, I can too. Anyhow, thank you all so much for watching this episode. This was a long one. Wow, 28 minutes. That's a little crazy. This will probably be 20 minutes or 30 minutes by the time I, close this one out. But, that's just how it goes. Hope all of you guys enjoyed today's episode. Not too much for me to really ramble about overall. It's getting hot in California. It's getting hot everywhere. I have a feeling that not only this summer, but the second half of the year will be a very interesting one, to say the least. Am I worried? Absolutely. Do I think we'll be fine? Maybe. We're gonna do a little bit of that with that maybe. That's not what that stands for. We're gonna do a little bit of praying for that maybe. But anyways, hope all of you guys enjoyed this episode. If you're on YouTube, please consider subscribing, dropping a like, dropping a comment down below. We're on our way to 500 subscribers, so I would appreciate it if we could get there soon. Hopefully, the main goal is 100K for that first YouTube play button. That's been a dream of mine since I was a young kid. So hopefully that will be possible. Outside of that, if you're on Substack, please consider pledging your support. All funds go to me. I'm going to college soon, as known, so all funds will help me pay for the things that I'll need to pay for in college, like food, clothing, all that kind of stuff. But if not, you can always subscribe for free. Truly, I do appreciate all forms of support on this content. It means the world to me. Wouldn't be doing this if it wasn't for you guys. But with that being said, thank you all so much for watching this video, and I will see all of you wonderful people in tomorrow's episode.